देख बिना ब्रेक।
Download Tak app.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Inspiration on India Today Television. Today my focus is about learning to overcome all odds and how to win against all odds and break down stereotypes. Who better, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about this than the sensation, Sania Mirza. Welcome, Sania Mirza. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for having me.
When I look back, I mean, it's actually like a dream. I mean, breaking down your life, 2003, winning Wimbledon, juniors, then coming through what all you've done. Do you actually, so when you look back, does it all seem real?
Sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time it does. I won't lie. But there are moments that only because sometimes when I think about where it all started and where we came from as a family and where the dream kind of sort of that seed was planted, when I think of that, it looks quite unreal, so to say, because I'm 33 now almost, and I probably will be when you air this episode. So I started when I was 6, so it was 25 years ago. I started playing tennis when I was 6, and to dream at that time, 25 years ago, of a girl from Hyderabad wanting to play Wimbledon was something that was unheard of and was actually mocked upon.
True.
So at the beginning of my life, if somebody told me this is everything that you're going to achieve, I would have probably laughed it off and said, you're being ridiculous. So I've been extremely fortunate to be able to do and be able to perform and play for my country and win Grand Slams and win medals and do everything that I could have ever dreamed of or more, rather.
Do you remember the start? I mean, obviously the support system of Imran Bhai and Naseema Aunty. I mean, do you remember the start, how it all started? I mean, how did they dream that a girl from Hyderabad, age 6, getting her into tennis?
So I think it really helped that I was born to very progressive parents. I think that is a very integral part of a girl wanting to pursue sport. I mean, it's changed now, but at least at that time. And we're talking about over 30 years ago, where parents were like, it's okay if my daughter plays tennis and that becomes her profession. And it helped that I came from a family that believed in sport. It believed that sport was an integral part of your development as a human being. It didn't have to be sport played at the international level. It didn't have to be high level of sport. It just needed to be sport, because sport teaches you so much. And I was lucky to have been in a family that had some great cricketers and great sports people. And I think that my father at that time, even though my mom was interested in sport, but my father was the one who sort of always wanted his child to play a sport, whether it was a boy or a girl. Now, I think it's no secret, if I was a boy, I would probably be playing cricket. So good for me that I was a girl, and we chose to play tennis.
Do you remember the start?
Yeah, I remember the first day, actually.
Tell me.
So the funniest was because I was really little. I was not a very big kid either, and I was quite scrawny and small, and I was 6 as well. So when we went there, it was at Nizam Club. And the coach, actually, my mom took me there for the first time. I used to walk past the tennis court every day to go swimming in my summer holidays, and we were like, oh, why not? Let's just play tennis as well. And I used to roller skate at the time as well. So I used to do 3 things. And when we reached there, my mom was like, I want my daughter to play tennis. And that coach thought that we were fools. He was like, she's 6. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why do you? Today, I mean, it's changed, right?
Yeah,
today you have a daughter and you're like, she's 5.5. When should I start playing? But at that time, it was unheard of. So it was like everything was a battle from day one. So we were like, so my mom, my mom's very feisty, my mom, and if she wants something, she'll get it done. So my mom said, well, well, it's my daughter, I want her to play tennis, like would you like to, enroll her, or should I take her somewhere else? And he was like, well, and I was like maybe just over the net, like I was little. So he's like, but, there was an argument that happened, which I don't remember clearly, but then anyway, then he gave in and he said, okay, fine. So I joined, and as soon as I joined, I had never held a tennis racket in my life, and when I held the tennis racket for the first time and he threw the ball at me, and almost like thinking that you'll see that she's too young, it was almost that, I connected ball to racket. And that was the first time that I hit a tennis ball. And I remember that day, and even though I was 6, I don't remember a lot before or after that happened.
That particular day.
Yeah, but I do remember that day, how it all started. And I do remember contacting the ball for the first time in my life.
Perhaps it was destiny in a way. I mean, who knows?
Well, it definitely was destiny. I'm a big believer in destiny. So I do think that, with hard work and everything that goes into it, I do think destiny plays a big part in it, because if it's not meant to be, no matter what you do, it won't be. So.
But then, Sania, I mean, that journey, I mean, one is to, get bat to ball and start with all of that, to win Junior Wimbledon, to become number 1. I mean, obviously, I mean, tell us the backstage. We only celebrate the Sania Mirza. We celebrate, oh, you know what, she's become world number 1, for goodness sake, 50 titles. What does it take? I mean, how hard was it to be an Indian woman in this part of the country, no tradition, make it big in sport? How many challenges, hardships, etc.?
No, but like I said, it was a challenge from day one, right? Like even to get an enrollment into a tennis academy was an argument. Like it was not as straightforward as, okay, I want my child to play tennis and then it's done. So everything was, and when you, it's a really amazing, and I've said this many times in my life, it's really, really amazing to be the first to do many things in life. It is because you will always be remembered for being the first, but it's also the hardest, because there is nobody to follow. There is no belief. The system doesn't believe in you, the country doesn't believe in you, the culture doesn't believe in you. So there are many things that you fight and you battle, and especially playing tennis. I remember, growing up, and I think we all sort of kind of grew up on her at some, P.T. Usha was the only woman athlete who we could think of and say she was the superstar. But outside of her, there was actually nobody, who you could say, I want to be like that person. So it was, first of all, difficult to also find role models. You had to look for role models outside, because sometimes it's also a belief within yourself. I mean, of course, you have the belief on a larger scale, but the fact is that unless my family would have supported me and said, we'll give it everything that we have.
And that story, I mean, the family story, I mean, having read your autobiography and spoken to them, traveling by car overnight to Kharagpur and that stuff, and living in hotels where your mom had to cook, that's serious stuff. I mean, the support system has been incredible for...
No, it is. And tennis, as much as it is an individual sport, it's probably the most team sport that there is, in terms of, there is a team Sania no matter where I go. That team Sania has now become team Izhan. That's a different story altogether. But now we do, team Sania is someone that, and it doesn't only involve your coach or your trainer. It involves your parents, it involves your siblings, it involves people who are taking care of a sibling who's 2 years old when your parents are traveling with you. They are also part of it, because the sacrifice is from every person involved. And sure, when we're on the court, it's a very individual sort of approach to it, and we are on the court and we're all by ourselves. But the team that goes behind it, the people in the box, are the people that have been with you through everything.
True. From
the beginning, a lot of the times. So a lot of people, and I get that in my tennis academy, believe it or not, where I think that they now, when I'm 33, my body's taken a beating after a kid and 3 surgeries or whatever it is, and I maybe practice, say, 2.5 hours of tennis a day, and they actually think that that's enough, but they have not seen what a tennis player has done to get there. When she or he was, say, 14 or 15 years old, you need to put in those 7-8 hours a day of tennis and practice and fitness and training, or visualization, or mental fitness. There are so many things that you have to do as a professional athlete.
You've said, Sania, already that you are the first in many ways. I mean, even as a mother, I mean, the kind of social media posts that you put out, you've become a symbol of empowerment that this country sort of almost takes to. I mean, you are an inspiration not only as a player, as a role model, as a symbol of women's empowerment. Can you talk about Izhan 1? I mean, you mentioned Izhan,
yeah.
Team Izhan. Can you talk about Izhan? What was that sensation? I mean, having a child when you were still at the top, you were number one. And I remember asking you this question, so family, what's the plan? So having Izan, how difficult a choice at that point was it? Being number one, taking a break, and motherhood?
Actually, making that decision at that point wasn't so hard for me, because I was always very sure that if I ever wanted to sort of walk away from the game or come out of it or even take a break from it, I always wanted to be on the top. I was still top 10 in the world when I decided to have a baby, and it was not something that we said, oh, okay, it was an accident. We planned to have a baby, and we both were ready. It was as simple as that. There was no, if you asked me 6 months before that, I wasn't ready, and something clicked, and maybe the maternal instinct in me, because I'm generally not a very maternal person. So I was a little worried about my child, thinking if I'm not so maternal, I hope I'm maternal towards my child. I'm not one of those people.
But your posts tell me you are maternal.
No, now I am. Yeah. I mean, I am to my child, thank God for that. But I think that, in general, I think as athletes, on a serious note, as athletes, we live a very selfish and self-centered life. And we live a life which revolves around us, our food and our training and our match and what time we need to wake up and what time we need to sleep. And everybody else, the team that is around you, revolves around you, because you are the person who's going to go out there and perform. And it sort of makes you a little self-centered, and it's a job hazard. It's not something that we try to do as athletes. So we were dealing with two athletes being that way. Shoaib is also an athlete, and a lot revolves around him as well, about when he's playing. So that is the biggest change that happened in us. I mean, I can say in me for sure, because the moment that I held Izan in my hand, nothing mattered anymore. I mean, it didn't matter whether I got any sleep or I didn't get any food or what. Nothing mattered, and that, I guess, is that maternal instinct that just sort of kicks in, and that is parenthood. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. And do I ever sit back and think that was it the right time to have a baby? Absolutely.
How's Shoaib as a father?
He's good. He's good. He's just started changing nappies now.
Good.
So, yes, the couple of days ago we took him to the pool, and I took him inside the pool because he needed to go and work out. So he said, okay, you take him. So I took, and Izan loves the water. So, I took him in the pool, and whatever, after like 20-30 minutes, my uncle was there, another cousin of mine, her husband. So there were 4 people, and I said, okay, here, now you can change his nappy and dry him off. It took 4 people and 15 minutes to do that. And it was really, really funny for me to watch from inside the pool. And they were like, can you just come out and help? And I said, no, okay. I will not come out and help. Okay. So there are instances that, we make light work of, but he's really good. He's good with him, considering he doesn't see him as often, because he's been traveling so much of late. And because I'm making this comeback as well, I just cannot take Izhan and travel. It's tough to travel with him, first of all, with a baby. Yeah. And he's a very active baby, so it's difficult to keep him contained in a flight week after week. And especially with cricket, they travel every couple of days. So yeah, but he's good. He when I'm out, he takes care of him. I mean, obviously we've got the team in place, like I said, the nurses and everybody. But yeah, he's good.
And he's also a supremely successful sporting star. Okay, before anything else, I mean, I don't know how many times you've spoken about this. Can you tell me how did this you and Shoaib, you met in Australia, right? I mean, or he fell for you in Australia, if I'm right?
Yeah, let's just say that. He fell for me.
Correct. I'll get Shoaib to corroborate this. But how did it all happen? You were in a restaurant.
Yeah, we met socially. We knew each other socially, and then we bumped into each other at a restaurant in Hobart, which is in Tasmania, which is back of beyond, basically, where you don't even see animals or birds after 6 p.m. Forget people. So it must have been destiny that we met over there, to be very honest. And and we bumped into each other at a restaurant, and then rest was history. Until I then realized a few months later that he had actually planned to come to the restaurant because he knew I was there. So yeah, and I was giving destiny all the credit, but it was clearly not the destiny's credit.
Okay, coming back to active tennis, Sania. I mean, making it to the top 20, 27 in singles, and thereafter number one in doubles. If you look back to that period when you were losing nothing, that mentality of being a champion, I mean, that's an inspiration where, I mean, I don't know how many Indians will ever aspire to that or reach that level, winning for 44 straight weeks, number one, etc. Can you talk about that? How is that possible, and what goes through an athlete's mind? What is the mindset, if I try to decode that?
It's about believing that you can't lose. And the thing is that in every athlete's mindset, that should be the mindset every time that you go on to play. That's a champion mindset. I don't think that when Virat Kohli goes on the field, no matter what his last score is, he is going to go there to believe he's going to hit 100 or he's going to win. Whether you win or not is a separate issue. So the thing is that that is the mentality that you can go with. Now, we were fortunate enough to have that streak, which was like a ridiculous streak. I mean, and it was unheard of in over 25, 30 years, when it was a very competitive, like there were amazing teams that were playing and everything. And I think after a certain point, after we went on to like 12, 13, 14, 15 matches, we didn't believe that we were going to lose. So even when we were, like when we looked back, so many times me and Martina discussed how when we look back, we could have lost at least 20 of those 44 or 43 matches that we won. But we didn't lose because we didn't believe we were going to lose, and the other people didn't believe they could beat us, because it was that kind of streak. It was a lot to do with mental as well. So it was amazing to be part of history in some way, but also it was amazing to experience that, because it is amazing to feel that invincible sometimes.
Yeah.
It is really, I mean, it's a big word, but I mean, we literally at that moment, you feel like nobody can beat you. And that is a feeling that very few athletes in the world get to experience.
Can I push you for that period, that Wimbledon game that even Roger said was one of the best games that he's ever seen, that match, the Wimbledon final? Can you, I mean, to come back, the multiple times that match changed color. We were watching late at night in India. Can you talk about that Wimbledon win?
Yeah, I think that for many reasons that is one of the most special moments of my playing career, because it was like a movie, right? It's like how you're watching a movie and you know that in the end, you know that the hero is going to win, but you still watch it, right? And you're still nervous thinking that, is it going to happen? So it was like that. It was, we were down 5-2 and it was only one break, but we were down a break on grass against two very big servers at the time, and we somehow broke. And when we broke back in that third set and we got to 5-all, in the middle of all that drama and with that match going on for 2.5 hours, they were like, it's bad light. So we had to all move in when the momentum was in our favor. And when we moved in and we were sitting there for half an hour, you won't believe it, we were all cramping, all four of us. We were all cramping because of nerves. We were not cramping because we were tired. Our legs, my legs were like, sort of like they were, so people, the physios came in, they started shaking all our legs out. We were like drinking, because it was a good half an hour, 40 minutes, I think, until the roof came back on. And at one point we started laughing because we couldn't believe that this was happening. We were like, oh my God, like we've just come back, it's the final of Wimbledon and it's 5-all and we've had to now stop because of this bad light. And then we were racing against the clock, because they said that it's an advantage set, so the referee came and told us, well, if it keeps going for another hour, or I don't know what the time was, and they said that if it keeps going, we have to stop and come back tomorrow, because you can play only till a certain time in All England Club. And we're like, oh my God, like, it was just so dramatic, everything. And when we came out, was actually when I and Martina, I think as well, we both felt so relaxed when we walked back out. We were really nervous inside. We walked back out and we got a standing ovation from the entire stadium, all four of us, because of the fight that was going on. But also, it was like walking into a movie set. There was like just lights on us, and there was like all these people, and like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm getting goosebumps actually talking about it. And there was these people giving us a standing ovation. They were just, we thought that probably people might leave, there was a half an hour, 40-minute gap. It was at night, and there was so many, it was a packed stadium we walked back out to. Something clicked, we broke straight away. And and then after we broke, I don't think we believed that we could lose that match anymore. But I think that break was extremely important to break when we came back, because of the momentum still stayed in our favor. Because if we would have lost that game, anything could have happened. But
the other thing about Sania is perhaps we don't celebrate that as much. We celebrate her as a world number 1 and as a doubles champion and singles number 20, etc. Is, she's won so many medals for India, representing India. So when people troll her, for once, let's have some brains. Because if somebody wins more than 12 medals for India, and who has she partnered? Go and check, even with a Vishnu Vardhan not saying I will not play, I will go and play with anybody and win medals for India at multinational competitions. That's another major thing of the Sania Mirza story is also about playing for India.
No, it is, and it always has been, and I think every athlete's story is such, and I think that I've been fortunate enough to be able to win that many medals. I mean, I've had, in Asian Games, I think I have like 9 medals or whatever, and I've had it with multiple partners and I started when I was 15 playing with Leander, and then ended it the last time that I played was with Saket Mainini, which we won a gold again the last time that we played. So I've had different partners, and it's been really amazing. For me, I love those events. I love going and playing and knowing that the national flag is actually going up because of you. You are the reason.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it is. In some ways, it is truly one of the most emotional moments an athlete can go through. That knowing the fact that the whole stadium stands up
because you've made it possible.
Because you've made it possible. And you have to be extremely blessed to be in that position, and you have to be extremely honored and privileged, and I've had that opportunity 12 times in my life. So I can only, I can.
If you add the Grand Slams where it's Sania Mirza IND.
It is. I mean, I believe that every athlete is representing their country, whether they are playing in a team event or they are not playing at a team event, right? Correct. Tennis being an individual sport, our name comes before and then the country's flag comes, but that doesn't make any, that makes no difference. So
I got to go for a break, Sania, but just before I go, I mean, on the one hand, it's this amazing streak of 12 medals and multiple medals and taking the flag up. And then when people question you, I mean, there are trolls, there are social media junkies, people question you. We both know this country turns hostile, or at least the loony section of this country turns hostile. How do you deal with such? Do you get irritated, frustrated,
angry?
No,
you deal with it with humor. I deal with most things in my life with humor and sarcasm.
How do you? I mean,
and it's a lot of fun most of the times. And then because I think it's
people are nasty. How can that be fun? I mean,
because if I don't make it fun, or if a public figure in today's day of social media, where everybody always had an opinion, now they have a way of sort of putting it out there, and they feel they're being extremely powerful. What they're not realizing is that they are the biggest cowards in the world, sitting behind a desktop or a phone.
True.
And probably when they see you somewhere, they'll probably come and take a selfie with you, but they're sitting behind this gadget and cursing your parents and cursing you, and I just feel sorry for them, because I find it really funny that how can you hate someone and have that much hate in you to go and write that how you hate so much that something I'm wearing, as something as silly as that, can bother you so much. Like, what a loser you must be. Like, it really is amazing.
You've also been a style icon of, from the nose rings, if I remember in 2005, some 1.5, did you get royalty? 1.5 million nose rings?
I should have.
You should have. but talk about that. I mean, you've been a real package, an entertainer, a champion, a player, a mother, a style icon.
Yeah, but a lot of them just kind of happened by default. I wasn't like trying to do a lot of things.
That's even better.
Yeah, so it wasn't, I was trying to be a tennis player, and everything else sort of went along with it. I think that, I think fashion is something that I don't understand at all. I like it, but I don't understand it. Yeah, exactly. So I'm very lucky to have a good team around me, where I'm just like, okay, I have to go for a show called Inspiration. So they'll be like, okay, here, take this jacket, and I'll be like, great. So that's how
all
it
in
works.
the family.
Yeah, so they're like, okay, here, there's 3 jackets, choose whichever you like. Okay, great. So, luckily I have good people around me. But fashion is something that I've always had fun with, and
But isn't it interesting? I mean, you wear something, suddenly 1.5 million Indians decide to wear. So what is that feeling like? You feel empowered? You feel great?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. I found the nose ring thing a bit silly because my mom has a nose ring too. Like for us, it was very normal to get a nose pierced, right? Like in our culture, that is something that most girls do. Yeah. So it was just like, I didn't even think that it was going to become something that, oh my God, that she's wearing a nose ring. But I realized that how big this nose ring was. Actually, I had gone for a cricket tournament, closing ceremony, and it was for kids with special needs who couldn't hear or couldn't speak, different kinds. And so when I was giving my speech, there was a interpreter, translator who was doing the sign language to them. And when she was introducing me, she kept doing this. And so when she came and sat next to me, I asked her, what does this mean? Because she was doing this all the time. And she says, oh, in sign language, this means Sania Mirza.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know this.
Yeah, I didn't know it. So that's when I realized what an impact, what kind of an impact it might have made for it to become a sign in a sign language.
This is something I didn't know on Inspiration. I've got to confess. This means Sania Mirza. Lovely.
That's what she told me, or maybe it meant Sania Mirza at that point. But she was like, well, that's the only way, we were able to sort of they were able to connect with it. And I found that really,
It's funny.
Yeah, I was extremely humbled.
Yeah, it's sweet,
and I was extremely humbled, but I think that moment is when I realized the impact of the nose ring phenomena.
Sania, also, two questions. One, I don't know how much you think about it, but to actually do what you've done, US Open from that 2005 to number 27 to the way your career has progressed, so many wins, don't you think objectively, for a second, if you're not Sania Mirza, yet you're talking about her, that you've become a symbol of empowerment? Doesn't that give you a sense of gratification and satisfaction and delight that you've been able to do that for this country?
Yes, most definitely. But it also gives me a sense of responsibility. Not just any of those things that so yes, it makes me very happy if I'm even able to be part of a change. It's amazing to be part of change and for the better, obviously. And so I do feel extremely humbled to be in this position, and I feel it's very gratifying to know that you have made a difference to at least one person's life in this world. Subconsciously or consciously, but it also gives you a responsibility. Hence, we'll come back to we were talking in the first segment about the post that I put now. So the reason that I documented my journey back from I had put on 23 kilos in my pregnancy, which is first of all, I was not even eating so much, so I was like breathing air and I was just putting on weight. Like I was literally just inhaling water and I was putting on weight, which was fine because I really enjoyed those 10 months of eating everything. But when I decided to make this comeback, I thought, let me document the fact that women should not feel that just because they have a kid,
great, please tell
their life has ended. Yes, it is all about the kid, and yes, but that doesn't mean that you cannot take out 2 hours of your day as a woman to prioritize yourself in that moment. It'll make you feel better. It'll make you exercise, and at that point I didn't even think that I was actually going to make a comeback. I thought that at some point maybe I'll make a comeback. I wasn't even so sure about it, of when and what, but I was sure that I wanted to become healthy again, because to me that's very important.
The thing is what is striking here is the ability to be able to just go out and post that.
Yeah.
It is tough. I mean, given
it's very tough.
Exactly, to put that out, and look, you've been identified in a particular manner by this country. You've been consumed in a particular manner by everybody. Suddenly to put that out, that takes courage, Sania. I mean, it's not.
No, it does. So the thing is that everybody, so we all talk about social media and the trolls and stuff, but there's so much body shaming that happens, right? In everywhere in the world. It's not just in India or this side of the world. It's everywhere in the world. I mean, literally, the minute, and especially it happens to women most of the time. Yeah. The moment a woman puts on a little bit of weight, she gets questioned if she's pregnant. Like that is their first response to it. So, and when she does get pregnant and she puts on weight and she's carrying a life inside her and she's 8-9 months, and it happened to me, it happened to so many of the people that were pregnant or are pregnant that I know. And the only thing they talk about is how fat have you become, how are you going to lose this weight, and they just body shame you. And it's so unfair, right? Like a lot of things are towards women, but this is very unfair because you're trying to shame someone who's trying to produce a life. And
you wouldn't exist if that wouldn't
have happened. So there's a much deeper problem in that, but let's not get into that. But the problem is that as a public figure, we are perceived to be perfect. We are supposed to be perfect. We are supposed to not have a blemish on our face. We are supposed to have perfect hair. We're supposed to have a perfect body, and we're supposed to be even if we come out of bed, we should be looking good. If we're taking a selfie, or people comment. And I just feel that I have that ability to try to keep it real because I've always kept it real.
Trying to break all of these stereotypes down.
So I just felt that when there are so many women out there who have just let themselves go because they've had a child, and probably because in their family, like we are being trolled on social media by random people, these people must be getting this from their aunties and uncles who come and say, oh, how much weight have you put on, why aren't you working out, so many things. So I decided to document this, and I said that whether it happens or not, we'll see, but my goal is so I lost 26 kilos in 4.5 months.
Whew.
So I lost 3 kilos more than what I put on at the time of when I fell pregnant, and the amount of messages, Boria, that I got and I get every day from women and men also, a lot of women saying that I have not gone to the gym, I have not gone for a walk in 3 years, my child is 3 now and I have not gone for a walk, but I saw your video today and I went to the gym.
No, Sania, the point is it is not about women. You are gender neutral in terms of empowering people. So I'm making that point as a man as well. So that's a tremendous achievement. And as I said, it's about courage. In fact, my India Today colleagues, some of them are here today, they actually told me, please ask this question, that your posts have somehow empowered people of this country, broken stereotypes. So that's a legacy. I mean, perhaps we only talk about you as a sports champion, but to see, not everybody is a Sania Mirza. I mean, that girl who has not achieved much is getting body shamed in her house. That person feeling empowered is also a legacy of yours, the way you are achieving it now.
Yeah, I mean, I was literally 39 weeks pregnant, and I was at a baby shower, and that particular picture went viral of where I was big. I mean, I was literally about to give birth any second, and I could have gone to the hospital from that. And I was at a baby shower, and the amount of body shaming that I got for that picture, I didn't care, it didn't matter. But in that moment, I realized that I will make all these people eat their words and understand the fact that giving a life and producing a human being, it's okay if you put on 20 kilos. It doesn't matter, you can put on 30 kilos. For me, it wasn't about the weight to get back into shape. For me, it was about being healthy, because being fit and healthy is part of who I am.
True.
And for me, it was, so today I can sit here and proudly say that I may have inspired a few women or men even, to get up and go to the gym and take out that half an hour or 45 minutes to themselves. I mean, I didn't have any postpartum depression, for example, and I think one of the main reasons for that is because I started working out 3 weeks after I gave birth. Because you have happy hormones in you when you work out, and I went and I used to go and take a walk. I used to take 7 kilometers walk 3-4 weeks after, and I had a cesarean, and I had all these women asking me how my doctor told me not to move for 6 months. So there are so many myths about pregnancy, and there are so many myths about, it's just about will, if you want to do it.
I've seen this in my own family. I mean, to break down these barriers, etc., and to challenge that you've done. Sania, now that we are talking the Olympics, we're talking Tokyo 2020. You've achieved everything. You've achieved Grand Slams. You've achieved it. Do you still have the urge to give it a shot? I mean, is that a consideration at all?
Yeah, most definitely. Actually, it was about maybe 5-6 months ago is when I actually thought, okay, I want to make that comeback. I always thought in my back of my head that maybe I'm going to make this comeback, maybe in this point, that point. But for me, when I look back, and now that I've not played in 2 years, so it was almost a half retired life, I look back and I thought, I've done everything that I possibly ever could have dreamt of. And last Olympics we spoke actually, and I was in tears, and it was because I honestly believed that that was the last Olympics. So if somebody at that point told me, which many people tried to tell me, and I was like, rubbish, I'm not going to, because I did want to have a kid, and I never thought that I would come back from that. I would have said there's no way I'm going to make it to Tokyo, which I did say. I said it very openly that I think this was it. And that's why it was even more heartbreaking at the time of coming that close and not being able to win that medal. Today, if you ask me if I am able to make my comeback, which looks likely at this point, Tokyo is something that is definitely that I'm looking at. That is something that is at the back of my head. As tennis players, I've said this many times, we can't really focus our thing on one tournament that's going to happen in August or September. We are going to have to, we play about 20 weeks before that. So, but yes, it looks like a realistic possibility, and I would amaze myself, and I think it would be amazing for myself to put myself in that position again.
You'll challenge yourself again.
Yeah, to put myself in that position again, and it will be my 4th Olympics, which already is amazing if I think about it. So I will feel extremely proud of myself if I do get there, and even put myself in that position to be able to compete for that medal again.
She's actually destiny's child. If you think back, London 2012, Sania and Leander lost to the eventual winners 7-5, 7-5, and the match was pushed to the next day because of bad light. They were playing brilliantly from the backcourt. Victoria Azarenka, one remembers Rio. One set up, suddenly Venus Williams decides to do something extraordinary. Up 3-1, Rohan Bopanna, maybe those 2 double faults he will never forget, because that was the difference. That was the difference between Sania Mirza and an Olympic medal. But again, who knows? She's destiny's child. I mean, to think back to Rio, I mean, just like that Wimbledon was a bit of a movie, this was a different script. But that's sport, right? No retakes.
That's sport, and that's why I think that's why sport is such an important part of life, because in life there's no retakes, and and you have to learn the way that you embrace that Wimbledon, and you embrace that victory, and you say, you know what, that is one of the most fondest memories I've had. One of the most special memories that I've had is competing for that medal at Rio and getting that close to it twice, once in the semi-final and once for the medal. You have to embrace that as well. That's what sport teaches you, which is why it's so important for every child to play sport, because you have to embrace the failures in life as well. Only then you can improve, and only then, if I would have won that, maybe I would have not wanted to make this comeback. Who knows? I don't know if it would have if it would have hit me, and I would be like, well, I have that medal. Why do I need to even think of Tokyo again? Or making my comeback, I can live a very happy life. My husband, has a good job, and my son is cute, and I can, have a relaxed life and wake up whenever I feel like and do whatever I want, and not go to the gym for like 5 hours a day and play tennis for 3 hours. So you don't know, right? You don't know at that moment, but God always has a plan.
You said your husband has a good job, but that's my man next door question. I mean, how do you manage long distance so well? He travels to Barbados, plays the Caribbean Premier League. You are in some other part of the world playing tennis. How have you two managed to be so good together for so many years when doing long distance?
We don't know it any other way. So if probably,
you all were together, you'll fight more.
Well, we were fighting more. I haven't played in 2 years, right? No, I'm kidding. No, I think that marriage is tough, and relationships are tough, and it's about how you try to, balance it. And I think being athletes has been slightly easier to understand each other's profession and the pressures that go with it. But that's the only thing that's been easier. In everything else, it's like any other marriage. The way you have to wake up and see your wife every single day, you probably think, oh, why can't we have a long distance? And I probably think the vice versa. So I think it's just a way of looking at it, and I guess we just know that it's not permanent.
Everything has changed. I mean, since that Leopold Road house where all of us watched Wimbledon, that was Sania's house at some years back, rented house where her father and us, we were all the Sania Mirza team cheering her at Wimbledon. At that point in time, she tried, making an omelette tried to break me and it flew past. Have you changed that? That's the truth. I'm not exaggerating.
If anybody knows Boria, you know that he exaggerates.
I will get Imran Mirza to corroborate this on national TV. But have you learned cooking?
No, of course not.
Okay.
Why should I? That was in my resume when I got married, that cooking doesn't come with this person. And it's not because I actually don't like to cook. I don't do things I don't like. It's very simple.
The food in your house is sensational.
I love eating, which is why it's sensational. So we have a place in Dubai, which you have been to actually, and you will always find food in my house. I don't cook it, but it's still great food because I know how to manage very well. So I've got cooks and I've got people who can cook and I've got everything in place, but do not ask me to cook. I can make tea now, but I still...
That's a big progress.
I can make... I just don't like it. I don't do anything that I don't like, and I believe that in life, that if you don't like something, you should not do it, because you cannot do it to the best of your abilities.
True.
Because if you don't like it, you can't be the
last two questions, Sania. One, is there still something that you want to achieve? You've achieved everything. I mean, you said the Olympics, you're challenging yourself, but that's not really, you don't have to prove yourself to anybody anymore.
But if you've known me long enough to know, I don't prove myself to anybody ever.
So
I prove myself to myself. So if I make this comeback, it's for myself.
Is there a dream that you still want to
No, I think that it's going to be really amazing for me if I'm able to just compete and get back to a level that was close to what I was playing before. If I'm able to do that and even just come back and compete, I mean, you don't understand that as a woman, how much your body changes, and as an athlete, to accept that and to fight that and then to come out of it, and then the battle was not only to lose weight, it's also to get back to fighting fit shape of a pro athlete, which is very, very high in a sport that requires a lot of physical fitness. So for me, just to get back, and if I'm able to come back and play at a decent level, at a level that I was close to before, that will be an achievement for me.
I said two, I'll actually ask two more. One, that the question that you've answered 2,002,022 times, why is there no Sania Mirza? I mean, you are the empowerment symbol, you're the champion, you've inspired so many, but what is the problem plaguing
There are many problems. One of the main problems is a lack of system, and I've said this so many times. And I think badminton is a great example in proving that when there is a system, how many champions you can produce. And in tennis, there is no system. I mean, just yesterday I'm again reading, like it's a banana republic. Everybody does whatever they feel like, and I've been seeing it since I was 15 years old. As a child, you do not know as a parent where to take your child if you want him or her to become a professional tennis player. You go to America, you go to England, you go to Japan and China, you've got federations that are taking care of all this. They are spotting talents when they are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old and kind of building them into becoming and nurturing champions. Champions are not made overnight.
True.
This is something that is very important to understand, that when I won Junior Wimbledon at 2003, it was 9 years into me playing tennis already. I was 6, I was 15 at the time. There were headlines and headlines saying overnight sensation. There is no such thing. Nobody sees the 9 years that have gone into it. Everybody sees you coming back with a trophy in your hand and the whole world waiting for you. Great. But there is no overnight champion. Champions are made where people don't see them. You don't see us working out in the gym. You don't see us going and practice. I've come back from a 2-hour practice session just now. You don't see that. Do you understand? So people see this and say, wow, what a good life. She's sitting at a set with hair and makeup and she's doing an interview. So, but it's not that. This is a very small part of our life.
True.
So there are many issues. The system is an issue. The fact that I think...
But do you live in hope?
How can we not, right? I mean, we have to live in hope. I think that it's important when tennis players will come into the administration, because they are the ones that will understand. Anyone that has made it till today.
Cricket.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge example. But even though cricket already had a sort of system going, right? Cricket is not a reasonable comparison. But as a tennis player, I can tell you the struggles that I've been through, so I can guide you. If you ask me what should I do with my daughter, where should I take her, I can tell you, don't do this because I did this and it was a mistake, or do this, or whatever it is. So that is one major issue. The other major issue is, I think, that because of no system, kids start physically getting they do things that you're supposed to do at 7 or 8, they do it only when they're 15 or 16, and then they hence end up with injuries and stuff like that. But that again comes back, the big issue is the system, right? Like if there is a system,
then you won't make that.
So that is a major issue, but there are a lot of mini issues that go along with it as well.
Let's finish on a positive note. I mean, every parent, us included, we keep talking about our children. So is there a fight there? Cricket, tennis, Izhan?
No, there is no fight, because I say no tennis, he says no cricket, so we're like, okay, great, let him
give us
and
a
he loves the pool, so I'm guessing he'll be a swimmer maybe, I don't know.
Not bad. She's broken the tennis barrier when nobody even dreamt of making the top 20. India's never had a swimming champion in
Please don't say this now. I'm going to get bombarded with, oh, I heard he's being a swimmer. So no.
So no trolling, please. No swimming. Let him enjoy. For goodness sake, inspiration is all about inspiration and not putting pressure on little Izhan. But Sania Mirza is all about breaking boundaries. Sania Mirza is all about inspiration. She's all about telling us, oh, you know what? Yes, we can. She's an absolute champion. We will always hail her as an absolute champion. More importantly, the legacy lives on and the story is not yet over. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on my show. Thank you so very much.